I be taking wins, we don't mess with laws. I be taking wins, we don't mess with laws. I be taking wins, we don't mess with laws. I be taking wins, we don't mess with laws. We been on that paper chasing all that fashion. We been on that paper chasing what you ration.
Been in the grind now, we ready for prime time, ready for shine now, we ready to get smile. On the rise, all eyes up on us now. Blast off spaceships till the touchdown.
Energy level on high, put that trouble on fire. Double it down, I'ma spit it around. Click, clack, boom, we the best in town. Energy level on high, put that trouble on fire. Double it down, I'ma spit it around. Click, clack, boom, we the best in town. I started off the lowest point in life, though. I started off the lowest point in life, though. I started off the lowest point in life, though. I started off the lowest point in life, though. I started off the lowest point in life, though.
Yeah, what's going on? What's good? What's good, people? It's a little smoky in here. It's got a cloudy vibe. Trying to figure that out. Don't know exactly what it is, but you know that's right there. You know what I mean? We got that instant brotherhood tea, and I know, two people asked me in the same week, asked me how do I get a ProQuo tea, and you know where you get them on the ProfessorLyrical.com website, or you see me or Quo. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much how we do it. Not available anywhere else. Yeah, man. My name is Pro. Thanks for checking in. It's short for Professor Lyrical. If you heard the joint, yo, that's Pro. I kind of break that down for you. And let me introduce myself to people who may not know me. I am a raptivist, educator, math and science guy who likes to think about stuff. Been an MC for my whole adult life and much of my childhood. Most people don't know this. People will say, yo, when did you start rapping? And I started rapping when I was a little kid. But I didn't take it seriously. It's not like I made anything or put it out. When I say little kid, I mean real little kid. Shout out to my man Warren Curry. When I moved to Chelmsford, which is one town over from Lowell. I was born in Lowell, started at Lowell schools, and then, we did the Chelmsford thing and then went back to Lowell, then went to Cambridge, Somerville, and now I'm in the DMV. And the thing is with Warren Curry is he had no musical skill just like me, and he had a broken guitar, and so did I. And we started, playing around with guitar strings and banging on pots and pans, literally in the bedroom, playing with Transformers and that kind of stuff. And we would sit around and we would make songs. I had already started rapping when I was younger, just playing around. And it was funny. I wasn't bad. Even though we were doing almost the Weird Al Yankovic thing, like just kind of like changing the lyrics and stuff like that, I wasn't that bad. It was always kind of on beat. It always kind of made sense to me. And just started playing around with it. And little by little, you get a little bit more encouragement. Met my man Fee. Started doing some stuff in high school. And it was the same thing. We were both not bad for no particular reason. Fee's from a musical family. I'm not. But it just made sense. And a lot of people have hypothesized that it's the math. And I was like, nah, it's not really the math. I didn't really have any like special math skill at that age, other than multiplying, which I was good at since I was little, but that's certainly not going to do it for you. So it was just, practice. And so my whole thing is practice and making sure that you can get better at whatever it is that you do. Because everything is an uphill climb, especially if you're not practicing. Practice? Are we talking about practice? We really are. And that's how we get better at stuff. And my whole Instagram is littered with people like, why do you post all these videos? They don't really say that, but I'm sure people are thinking it. Like, all these videos of me just shooting. I was never a particularly good shooter when I was a young kid, just like I was not a particularly good musician, mathematician, right? Not at all. we listen to our old tapes and stuff like, yo, I'm awful. Right. Look at my old schoolwork and it was like, you know what I mean? Like it was pretty good. And people love to have that. He was just born this way, or she was just born that way, kind of romantic story about why we're good at something, as opposed to the one that isn't as sexy, that we just worked at it. And that we all have the ability to get good at whatever it is we want to if the passion is there and the will and the grit and the grind to get better. And so I'm sure some of y'all are good at stuff and get better at it. And I would love to hear those kind of stories. I'm going to be talking to you guys specifically tonight. We got some really cool guests coming up. I want to shout out on the 12th. My girl Angel, the Angel, aka 60 Channels. She's got a new joint out on SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever it is that you pick up your music, and that's how it goes down, literally and figuratively. Um, and it's her and Trey, which some of you may know or remember. He's from Far Side, so that's Slim Kid. And it's funny. I went with my son today, surprised him actually. He was at camp and they went to the movies, and I showed up at the movies with him. He thought it was the greatest thing ever. Still at that age, where that's very cool, right? Not embarrassing, right? And saw the DC Super Pets thing. So I'm watching DC Super Pets, and wouldn't you know, Passing Me By the Far Side comes on. I was like, hey, Henry, remember I was telling you about the next couple weeks, and one of the guests coming on is from Far Side. So they're coming through on the 12th, the Angel and Slim Kid. So please check out the show on them. All my support goes out to Angel. She's amazing. She directly helped me get my song placed in the movie Montreal Girls, which some of you know if you're following my page, which is on Facebook.com/Professor Lyrical. That's how some of you are watching it. I have the release information there for that. All the stuff that you need to do, right, when you're trying to have a release. If you're trying to have promote your own music, that kind of stuff, there's all these small little things that we really should be doing. And one of them, of course, is a pre-save, right? Pre-save link. So the pre-save links are there for Dark Poetry. It comes out the 18th. She hooked me up with contact of meeting somebody who some of you may have heard me spoke about. Her name is Chica. She's an amazing director, Latina director out of Montreal. Even that is pretty cool. And her work is crazy. And the movie that's coming out is a feature film. It'll be in the CineQuest. I never know if you say CineQuest or just CineQuest, but I think it's Cine, like cinema. CineQuest out August 20th. The red carpet premiere is out there for that film festival, along with a bunch of other amazing films. August 20th. Was trying to get out there for it. Not sure if that's going to work because that's a grip getting out there. But it's the Angel who really hooked that up. And the Angel's like one of those people who the name would imply. She's kind of like a miracle worker, behind the scenes, quiet, but, confident in herself and just an amazing, just film and music person combined. And so she's, doing scoring and that kind of thing and music supervision, all those kind of things that go on behind the scenes where artists can actually make money. And you've probably heard me speak about this before, but I wanted to give you a sneak peek before we start really getting rolling with this stuff. I'm going to use the song that my man Fee got out featuring me and Ruby. It's an X-Cal reunion song. Some of you guys have heard us speak about that. It's called Back in the Days, and it's produced by Ski. So I want to show artists what you do to protect your babies. In other words, if you're an artist, what do you do to ensure that your music gets the best treatment? In other words, what do you got to do to help your kids start walking, right? What do you got to do? You feed them the right food, you take care of them, you do all the things you got to do to support your kids. And it's sort of the same way with music, no matter what level you're on. And some people haven't had a chance to walk through it. So, of course, I'm rocking the merch, right? I'm rocking the ProQuo merch. And people will be like, yo, we're going to get merch, we're going to get CDs, and we're going to sell merch and sell CDs. As if not everyone else in the world is trying to do the same thing, right? As if that's not a cluttered market. Now, if you're playing in this 5 acts playing and all 5 of you are trying to sell stuff, what's going to sell the stuff? Is it the fact that you were dope? Let's assume so, right? Let's assume that the music is there. It's probably that you're reasonably personable, or that you got a guerrilla marketing strong arm team where everybody's up in someone's face. I don't know about you. I don't really love that. It's cool to be like, persuasive about your stuff and be like, yo, check out my shirts. We got them over here. They're $10, whatever, $20, whatever you're selling them for, $30. But everybody's trying to do that. So it's like, what's going to be the stuff that's really going to set you apart and give you longevity? It can't just be your merch, unless your logo is that ridiculous, like the Woo logo or something like that. But even that logo, there's a reason why it works. because of the marketing of the individual group members, the group itself, all the stuff that they've spun that into. It's like, what are we going to do to get to that point in this era today? You can't just have dope music, right? So I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to say there are generally 4 areas of which we can make money, right? We can make, and which is what a lot of us try and do in the business of music, right? So for yourself to become successful, you're either going to make it off of appearances, shows, performing, or speaking, right? Or some combinations. You showing up to do something somewhere. It can be virtual, it can be in person, right? You showing up, you're doing something, you're providing the service, right? You're performing, you're speaking, you're acting, whatever it is, you're showing up and you're doing your thing, all right? And then there's the selling of products, the selling of CDs, books, albums, records, vinyl, whatever it is that you're selling, the shirt, the merch, the swag, the hats, blah, blah, blah. You're selling that stuff. Then there is the whole royalty side of things, right? The mechanical kind of deal. Every time your song is getting uh, downloaded, right? Whether we're talking about streams or whether we're talking about sort of what the performance right organizations will take care of for you on the publishing side. Is your song publishing? Is your song published? Do you have a publishing company? We talked a little bit about that last week, and the revenues that those can generate for you, usually in the back end. And then there's a copyright that goes with that. You own your stuff, and when you own your stuff, you have the right to reproduce your stuff, right, or license it to somebody else. And in that licensing piece, you could be, people will say syncing means it's taking the music and syncing it to something like that's moving in a motion picture, right? Like, the music makes me think of this scene, and someone's going to pay you for the right to use that, and pay you on the publishing side as well. Like, they're paying you and the licensing is working. There's 2 sides to that, right? And so those are like the general kind of 4 ways. So there's like sort of that publishing aspect, money that you can get from every time your song's played, or we can get into the nuts and bolts of publishing and whatnot. But your song's being played on the radio, your song's in a TV show. Those are slightly 2 different things, right? Songs getting played on the radio, that's just sort of your regular publishing. We talk about, hey, you have your ASCAP and your BMI, but you also need that in place for when the songs could be synced to a movie, right? Which is much, much bigger payday in terms of, for most of us, right? For most of us, we might do a song, it could generate, maybe it's a really low budget kind of thing that's someone starting out and you're charging them $500 to use your song, right? Maybe it's 1,000, 2, 3, 4, it's getting up there, right? Or it could be something really big that could be well over $100,000 to license your song in a premiere spot, in a premiere kind of movie or commercial or video game or what have you. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've talked about this before. The having over 100 songs that are published and the relatively minuscule money I've received on that publishing side. Granted, I'm not a major artist like that that's going to be able to have a demand, that their money's coming through and have lawyers checking on that and making sure the money's there and all the paperwork and all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Let's just assume that you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. If you're really not with a major firm like well, we won't even get into Harry and all those kind of companies out there, but let's just assume that you're by yourself, right? And if you're by yourself, trying to collect those monies can be very difficult. And so you would have a better opportunity, just probability wise, right, to go out and find yourself even a $5,000 placement in a movie or a TV show, right? And that would eclipse probably much of what most artists, I would say the vast majority, 99% of artists have ever made in their life off publishing money. So you hear a lot of people talking about publishing, and it's super important. Yes, you have to have it all done because something could hit. But in reality, it's probably not going to be that lucrative. Like, if you're relying on publishing money to be your career, you better really know what you're doing in your career. You better be really with the movers and shakers, doing all your stuff, have doing it for years, built up a big catalog. And even still, it's not reliable, and unless you're like one of the very few elite people out there. We talked last week about who the elite people are in terms of artists that are out there that are millionaires, right? Gave you the top 30 list. Starts from 50 million and goes up, right? So like the 30th person on the list making around 50 million, checking in to, a bit over $1 billion, right? And there's a common theme with those folks too. They've diversified, they've went into film, they've licensed their image or their likeness or their name off to other products. And we didn't really talk about it in that end as well, but that's sort of that licensing piece, right? It's your image, your likeness, your songs ability to be synced, like those kind of things that you can do. That's really about it. But to even get in the door, we got to make sure that your song is being heard by someone, or your movie's being seen by someone, or your whatever, right? So let's just talk about the song aspect, because everybody wants to say, shout out to my man Jonah for asking me the question too, was asking if I could talk about this last week. I told we would get into it this week. I want to have him up here as well, to a longtime friend and artist that I've known, and just kind of putting it out there, like some general things. So what I'm going to do for you, I'm going to share the behind the scenes of a Google Doc that we made. And this is for a song called Back in the Days, which I'll play. Shout out to Fee, shout out to Ruby, and just want to show you what it looks like behind the scenes. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to share for you my drive. I keep my stuff in my Google Drive. All right, you can use whatever platform you want to. You can see I have a lot of folders and a lot of things floating around in my Google Drive, right? Right here, it says ProQuo Shows. Look, there's the Montreal Girls. We got stuff for that too. Could even use that. Let me start with that, by the way. So there's the stuff for Montreal Girls. So there's a promo video I made. I got a couple different copies of it in there. Sneak preview for the CineQuest thing. The promo player, right? This is what the promo player actually looks like. We were talking about that earlier. So if I send you that link, that's just the image of it. But if I send you the actual link via social media, via your email, this will pop up and you'll be able to actually hear the entire song. This isn't a clip. This is the real thing. And this is one of the benefits of being with Sony Orchard. Shout out to LD and Freedom Corner. Shout out to my man Sin, who is the genius god on all this stuff. And shout out to Low Vision and all those cats. This is the Orchard link. So they'll send you a link like this that you can send behind the scenes to radio. You can send to media. So it is what it is. It's called a promo player link, right? So if I send that to you, now this song comes out the 18th. The song's not even out. So with this, I'm trying to generate interest from people in press, right? Or people that can spin it, or DJs ahead of time. But they're probably going to say, yo, Pro, that's dope, but I can't always be playing off a link. Can you send me, the MP3 or whatever? So here's the MP3 for that. This is the single version. There's the WAV file. Those of you who don't know about WAV files, I can show you real quickly. Look at the size of the WAV file, 33.5. And over here is the single version, 7.6. And this is a high quality version of the single. So you can see that thing there, it's over 4 times as big. It's because in a WAV file, nothing has been compressed. It's the actual raw sound, the full big sound, basically, is an easier way to explain it, as opposed to the MP3 version, which has sort of had systematically things taken out of it. You can almost liken this to when you're looking at a pixelated picture as opposed to something super clear, high def. You can't really tell on most smaller screens or whatever, but if you're sitting looking at a 60-inch screen and something was pixelated on there, it would probably stand out a lot easier. Just like if you're on a really good system and you're listening to an MP3, the difference of a WAV and MP3 you may be able to detect. So the WAV files are better, and some people will demand and request those, right? I got lyrics to the song. I got the cover. Okay, here's the cover. It's the cover of it. Shout out to Patricia Chica for letting me use those pictures. That's actually Hakim, the main actor in the movie. It's a picture she actually took. The director actually took that herself. So we're lucky to get that. Over here, I want to show you the pre-save. Many of you, no matter what service you're with, you have a pre-save. Now, if I was to scroll through these, there's a lot more than just these. And remember, this is just a still picture of it I'm using for different kind of promotions. I might want to take that still and put it on my website and then hyperlink it to the actual link. So you're clicking what I want you to see. You click it, and then it takes you to the actual link. And you're like, oh, this is dope. Now I can scroll through it and I can pre-save. Pre-saves are great if you care about the algorithms and you're trying to, get interest before your single comes out. Of course, you want to. Certainly won't hurt. And that's what that would look like. So most of you, even if you have you sort of do it yourself kind of setup, you're still going to get a pre-save link from whoever those suppliers are. Meaning like if it's TuneCore or what have you, whatever service you're going through. So that's that. All right. So that's the one that I have for Montreal Girls going. And I want to show you the more extensive one here. We're calling it a DJ pack is terminology for something of when you have everything for DJs that they'd want, which might be an instrumental, a special mix, slightly different intro, might be a clean version, radio version, a cappella, instrumental, that kind of thing. I kind of made one on steroids here. This is called the Back in the Days pack, right? The Back in the Days pack. So for DJs pressing more. This is more than just for DJs. I could make a smaller one that is just an offshoot of this if I wanted to not overwhelm them, but it's relatively easy to find what's in here, right? So I got drops in here for radio stations. I got the one sheets. I got different versions of the one sheet. I have one that's a PDF. I have one that's a Word in there. The instrumentals, all that kind of stuff, right? The single cover. Like here's the actual cover itself. We have Fee's biography is in here. If you want to read up on Fee, that's in there. Different pictures. And I realize that those aren't sharing with you now that I say that because I'm clicking into another picture. So let me hit stop sharing in a second because I realize I'm sharing a share. That just occurred to me. Pictures that are in here. That one you can see. That's a picture of me and Ski. A picture of Ruby and Fee. Ruby, Fee. Like, you get a bunch of artists on there. It's kind of cool to have a picture of everybody, especially when we're doing one that's kind of like a reunion track of the actual group. So we wanted to make sure we had them all in there. So really, it's thinking about what is something that everybody could possibly want, and can you put it in one place so that when an opportunity comes up, you don't have to waste time, right? And then, of course, you have a link to this you can send out and share, or you can give people access to this and you send it. Obviously, people know how to send out links. I'm not going to walk you through all that. You know how that's done. But this will get you what you need to have, right? No matter what it is you want to have. And I would also argue that the one sheet is pretty dope. And shout out to the Angel. She looked at this with me too. Just, when you know people that you respect their opinion, it's good to bounce it off. I kept it a one page, which is a one sheet. These are all active links up here. So just cutting and pasting and putting these in, right? You can do these better. Some people do them amazing. But what I wanted to point out is that I did it myself. I didn't need an agency to come in and do it, nor do you. Like, just Google press release, see what would be on a press release, or Google a one sheet. One sheets are a little bit more of an archaic, old time kind of terminology. It's essentially just a flyer that's kind of giving you all the information. You can call it whatever you want. It's just kind of telling you what this is about. And I'm one who says never read anything, but I also realize that you're not going to be able to see this. So I just want to read you the intro to this, right? Think about something like this project that's a little hard to explain. There's a lot going on. How are you going to explain it concisely in like a paragraph or two? Now, this is what we got going on. We got Fee put this out. It's out under Fee the Evolutionist. It's featuring me. And I've had a few singles out recently that have done pretty well. So you want to make sure that name's on there and you can see it. Ruby, similarly, right? Fee's had projects. So we want all the names on there. The names of us as individuals is a little bit bigger than the name of us as a group in terms of the current time. People don't really necessarily know who XCal is if they weren't around for when we did our original stuff. So we have it connecting to our original names, our artist names. And it also says in parentheses over here on the cover, XCal, right? So it says, if you can see that, it says Fee the Evolute, which you probably can't. Let me blow this up a little bigger here. That's about as big as I can do it, I think. Fee the Evolutionist is what's in there. And I think, you know what? I can zoom in on it. Yeah, let's do that. I always forget this is a touchscreen. Just want you all to see the cover and think about what we're talking about. So under there, it says Fee the Evolutionist, featuring Professor Lyrical and Ruby Shabazz, XCal, produced by Ski Beats back in the days, right? Now, Ski's a platinum producer. Of course, you want to have that info on there if you can, for the graphic that you're doing in there, whatever. And we also want this to generate under all of our names. The thing I'm saying about just doing this stuff yourself is you don't really have to wait for anybody to necessarily do this. It can just be trial and error. A lot of times people will say like, yo, when do you have the time? I'm like, when do you not have the time? Like, you telling me you can't sit around I did this on a free graphics program. And I'm not saying it's incredible or anything, but we got a lot of things here to think about that we have to come up with the wording for how we want to promote it. So I'm going to walk you through this word. The wording is tricky. So it's Fee single, featuring me, featuring Ruby. Ruby's in his group. Like since going back to One Love, we all rock as XCal. We were all produced by Ski. We all have different kind of aliases, right? And the song is a reunion song in many senses of the word. So here's what we have. Fee the Evolutionist releases Back in the Days, a soulful feel-good record produced by the legendary Ski Beats, featuring Professor Lyrical, then with our names in parentheses, like what we're also known as, and soul songstress Ruby Shabazz. Lyrical Ruby and Fee, along with in-house producer rapper Dale Syntax Chase, comprised the legendary Lowell-based rap group X-Cal, and under Ski's tutelage, after countless weekend trips to record in his home studio in NYC, released several Syntax-produced underground classic records of their own in the late 1990s. Little example, right? Butter Messenger, I could have put IE if I want to. Butter Messenger, Brand Name Woman, Don't Make It Hard, etc. on its Fat Sam Records imprint. All right, here we go. Wrap it all up. What's important about this? Back in the Days is a classic Ski Beats production, and its creation serves as a tribute record commemorating the 25th anniversary of arguably the greatest album in hip-hop history, Reasonable Doubt by Jay-Z. Ski produced 4 standout tracks on the album while simultaneously producing Fee and Lyrical Lord Plort of Excalibur before, during, and after sessions with Jay-Z, as well as Camp Low and many others affiliated with Ski's Rock-A-Block brand under the affiliated Rockefeller at his Uptown home studio and at legendary D&D Studios. Under Ski's mentorship, X-Cal would develop its own Ski-inspired sound, which permeated across Rock-A-Block affiliated artists, helping X-Cal land multiple records on national playlists and charts, cementing them as a fixture of Boston area hip-hop history and folklore. 2022 represents the 25th anniversary since the members of X-Cal recorded and released their underground classic vinyl, Butter Messenger, and marks the first time in many years that they have reunited to record and publish a major single release back in the days, now going for radio ads. So it goes for radio ads on August 2nd. This link right here that's in it will take you back, the Back in the Days pack, to the whole full Back in the Days pack, just in case this was sent to someone who didn't have access to it. This, of course, will take you to my website that has an X-Cal page on it with all kinds of pictures and stuff in it. And this picture is sort of a collage of us in there. And it kind of gives you everything you need. And there's the social media. And the social media is somewhat split up across Fee stuff and some of our stuff. I think it hits my email. And you know, those are the things you got to decide as an artist. Like, where are you sending the press? Where are they going? Are you cool representing your group? You going to talk about your group for you? Like, so where Fee is the named artist on this and where the features, right? It's actually one person removed from Fee, since that email is actually going to me. A lot of people would have that going to their manager or whatnot. I did too when I didn't understand what I was doing. Now that I'm pretty comfortable with it, I can handle pretty much any call that comes. If I can't, I'll get back to them. Sometimes you got interns doing that, family, friends, whatever you got to do, whoever's the person that you think would need to talk. And that's just the one sheet, which honestly, at the end of the day, it's probably not super, super amazingly important that you have a one sheet like that if you're not going for press. But if you want press and you want DJs to know something about it outside of, you know, you trying to call them DJs or somebody who's helping you promote that record, you probably want something written like that. Don't send them to your social media. I mean, you might want to send them to your website where you can control what that is on one static page. But sending them to social media, they got to dig through stuff, and there's probably half the stuff in there is not appropriate unless it's what Facebook tried to do with its sort of fan pages, right? So take that for what it's worth. So the deal is, and the reason I'm showing all this stuff really in detail is these are sort of the things you want to think about if you're going to put out something that is going to be received by a crowd that may know you or may not know you, right? In other words, it's like, what are all the factors they need to know? Of course, they can just play the record, right? They can just play the record. Hey, there's the MP3. We can play it, click into it, and we're good.
It's time to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, so they can play the record. But do you want them to feel like they know you, have a little bit more skin in the game, and how you're going to follow up, right? And so this brings me to another question was asked. Joan was asking this too about streams and so forth, right? About like which way to go. And I forget exactly how I phrased the question, but I would say this: working that record to actual outlets that have human beings there as opposed to an algorithm is probably still reasonably important for people who aren't signed to a major label. In other words, are there internet radio stations and college radio stations and mix show formats for the style of music that you're doing who might consider playing it? Could you get in the mix at that level? And you can think of that as the D League if you want to, or the G League, whatever you want to call it, right? For the main show at the NBA, right? You think about that, right? It's the people that are bubbling in the under that are going to make it to the upper, right? In most cases. Or they don't even need to be played on mainstream. They can just be bubbling so much in the under that that's where they're getting their money from. So again, what are you making the record for? Are you making the record for just because you want some people to hear it? Cool. Are you making it because you want to get shows? Hopefully. Are you making it because you want people to hear what you do and say, yo, that might be somebody I want to make me a song that I can then get placed, or maybe that is the song that'll get placed, right? Or maybe it's you're promoting an album that's going to come. But you got to think about what the things are that you're trying to do and then spend your money accordingly, what little you may have to do. Like if you want, let's say you have $1,000 total. And by the way, $1,000 total is more than most of us spend on a song at any given time. If you want to go through a radio promoter who can promote you to college radio, you're going to be looking at spending somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 to $1,500 to promote that record. And what that means is that person or team is going to be monitoring what those radio station DJs that report to them, meaning they tell them what they're playing on their show on a weekly basis. They're going to be servicing them. They're going to, just like in the old days, and they mailed the records to you. Now it's somewhat they're mailing the MP3s, unless you have a record. That's cool too, right? Mail them out of vinyl. Imagine that, getting the vinyl in the mail, physical mail. That'd be a great way to impress somebody, right? But whatever it is you're trying to do, you probably need someone doing that who knows those people more intimately than you do. And it would be kind of weird if you were trying to call up 2,000 DJs. Now, I got a list of almost every DJ in the country. I got international ones. I got all kinds of lists that I have access to that are pretty current. But am I going to really call all of them? I don't know about you, but that's a lot. Now, I call some. I'll call the ones in my area. Ones, if I'm going into a city, I'm going to be there. Of course, I'm going to let them know. Why would you not, right? So having access to somebody who either has that access or having access to it yourself is a valuable thing to have. So do you have a person who you can call up and be like, yo, I'm going to be in Detroit tomorrow. Yo, who are the DJs out there? Are they playing the stuff right now? If not, can you tell them I'm going to be out there? I want to do an interview. I'm going to be doing a show over at XYZ. Maybe they want to come out and check it. I'll give them passes. Whatever you got to do, you can do this stuff on your own and replicate what it would be that back in the day that labels would do, or small management companies. And small management companies are still out there. Sometimes agents, sometimes publicists, depends on what your team looks like. So if you have basically what I'm saying, if you got like a budget of like $1,000 to $1,500 on top of what it costs you to get your song out there, you can make some noise if the song's good. And if you have competent people that know what they're doing, do that. And if you're not competent on it, then you need to look up with a simple search, like on the internet, or get on Clubhouse. If you're not on Clubhouse, again, I have no idea what you're doing. Like, get on Clubhouse, where there are posts every single day with live people in there. There are music experts in there 24/7 in Clubhouse, because it's a global app. Instead of wasting your time on Instagram and stuff like that, just being obsessed with Instagram or whatever thing you're on, or TikTok, or whatever the things are that is like stress relievers and are made to be entertainment, you can get on an entertainment/infotainment app like Clubhouse, and you can meet a tribe of people who are trying to do similar stuff to you. So that's kind of something that I wanted to, again, speak to. If you're an artist and you're not on Clubhouse, I honestly almost can't take you seriously, because you have access to agents, publicists, sync firms, artists. Snoop Dogg's on there quite a bit. I mean, people just come in and out, and you're sitting there with them, talking to them. That's what it is. And like, I get frustrated when there's a piece of technology out that people have been talking about for a long time, and people are just like refusing to check it. No, I'm just not going to check that out. Why? Like, have you at least checked it out? Like, I'm not a huge TikTok person, but I've checked it out, right? I will peek at it. I'll go back on it. I'll make a post maybe, right? Now, it's not really my personality to be jumping around in the kitchen and making dance videos, so it's probably not something I'm going to necessarily do, but I might. I'm not closed off to the idea that there could be something cool that I want to use in there. And I might meet a tribe of people in there that are cool, right? I know plenty of people on TikTok that are dope people. So it could be the thing for you. But I'm going to tell you, Clubhouse is where that all is. So I see, like, of all the artists I know in Massachusetts, I can name about 10 who I know that are on Clubhouse, that I see them every now and then. I was shouting out people the other day. I saw my man Joey Politics up in there. We were talking in the hip hop room. I was like, oh, yo, let me shout out my man Joey Politics, right? Longtime MC, business person, videographer, right? Of course, he's about his business. He's going to get up there and be on there. Now, I'm not saying every artist needs to make it part of their business plan that they need to be the person, but someone from your team needs to be. Quo turned me on to that. I get in there. Then we had LD in there. We got Fly in there. We got JB up in there, who makes the beats. Legendary up in there, right? Sin is up in there. Low Vision is up in there. That's the bulk of our team of people. Fee's up in there now, right? So it's like the team of people who can represent you or find out information for you or whatever. It's like attending a seminar that's going on all the time. And it's some crazy stuff too. I was in some flat earth rooms today and they had me in there talking on the math of it or whatnot. Conspiracy theories are the other side of this stuff that runs around. Everybody's an expert on something now because, you know, what we can see on YouTube and that kind of stuff. And it can take you away from the mission. It takes me away from it too. Readily admit that. But I spend about 85% of my time on Clubhouse on meaningful rooms to me in terms of stuff like for my academic side and the music side, which is the stuff that pays me. And the other stuff is more like entertainment, much like you'd use TikTok for. So let me stop sharing this. So yeah. So if you're not on Clubhouse and you're trying to do all this other stuff, like you're paying for streams or whatever, I'm like, really? Like you're going to pay for streams, but you're not on Clubhouse. Something's not adding up, meaning you haven't been told. So I'm telling you, get on Clubhouse, right? Get on it. Out of all the things that are out there, Clubhouse by far is the most effective tool I know to reach out to people who are like-minded. Because not to say they're not on Instagram, but there's so much clutter on Instagram and the algorithm is dictating your feed. Now, there's an algorithm behind the scenes on Clubhouse, but you can influence the algorithm more readily than you can influence any other algorithm unless you want to play their game. Like you want to influence the Spotify algorithm, you got to be bugging people to do all kinds of stuff, right? Share me, put me on a playlist, do all this kind of stuff that has minimal to no effect, unless it's in bulk and unless it's consistent. Influencing the algorithm that's on Clubhouse is who you follow and what kind of rooms you go into and what's in your profile. So for me, if I was to show you and I'm really tempted to show you my Clubhouse profile in there, but I have to log on a weird way because it's a phone app. There is a way to do it by your laptop, but it's a pain. But I could maybe hold up my phone if the brightness is going to work, but I don't think it will. But I'll have to prepare for that another time to actually have that a little bit better. But it's this. So yeah, it's kind of like what I thought. The light's too much. Let me turn this down here. You can see that if I hold it at an angle, I think. So basically, yeah, you can kind of see what's there. So I can scroll through this and see endless rooms about stuff that is popping up for me. Now I'm going to read you a title. All right, I'm going to read you a title. Let's see. Let's talk about it. New vibes, new day. Now, some of the stuff is like, okay, I don't actually know what it is because it's not that great. Here's Sin in a room right now. And the title of that room, oops, I just lost the room. He may have been in the room, but then again, it may have just refreshed because I think I touched the screen. I didn't update it. It said rap in the title. So Sin was in there. Business and personal credit and real estate, right? And you can tell the algorithm, literally, you can tell it, show me less of this. And it will show you less of this. So I'm in there 24/7 and there's like, the Lord heals in miraculous ways every single morning. I'm not going into any of those rooms, truthfully. Every now and then I'll see a title in there. I'll be like, okay, cool. And the morning for me is filled with grifters, people looking to take your money and to bring you into a room. What I'm not saying that the Lord is grifting, but I'm saying there are a lot of non-authentic people in there. And I'm like, I do not need my early morning motivational talk from these rooms. It's just not what I'm in there for. And by the time I'm in there, it's not even morning. And that's the other thing too. A lot of it's West Coast, so you'll see morning stuff. It'll be 10 o'clock. People are 7 o'clock for them. It'd be noon for you. And you're like, what was all this early morning, kind of stuff, whatever it is for you. Breaking news, assault weapons banned by House of Reps, right? Now there's a lot of political stuff that'll be in there too. And it's very right and left centered of the stuff that's in here. How to survive hard times. How can different cultures exist together peacefully? And the thing is, you see all the people who are in there. You see all the people who are in there that probably you're following are the samples of people that they'll show you. They got to show you like 4 people now, that 5 people, 6 people, however many people are in there right off the rip. And it's usually going to show you the people that you know. Open mic powerhouse poets. There's a reason that's coming to me, right? So you can influence that by what you follow. In the morning, there's a lot of education ones that I'm in on. There's a lot of social justice initiatives, that kind of stuff that I'll check in and out of. There's atheist rooms, theist rooms, political rooms, comedy rooms, whatever it is that you start to follow and check out, it'll show you a little of, and you can turn it on or turn it off. And there's a lot of middle ground rooms. There's rooms where that's kind of the discussion, but they're connecting to something else. And you can make whatever topic you want, and you can keep the audio. Just like this. We can keep the audio of this thing and make it a strict podcast if I want to. So it's just another tool. So kind of what I'm saying, Clubhouse is probably smart for you if you're an artist and you're trying to link up with people that are doing similar like mind stuff. And by the way, they're regular rooms too. Like I know at certain times there's certain people I can check in on, and we build and we talk and we get in and we get out. So that's that. As far as working the music, a little bit more on that. So I showed you the behind the scenes of working the music. I want to just think about sort of the external stuff. So you got a record and it's out. And normally you probably have like ideally like a month lead time from the time that you start getting a pre-save kind of link to the time your stuff will be out. What is the stuff that an artist should be doing in the meantime? Like, in other words, okay, you got your pre-save link, you've sent it to people, you've posted it on social media, you've done your sort of your basic due diligence, right? Now what? Like, what is the next thing you're gonna do as an artist? Are you gonna sit there and be like, yo, can't wait till the day it comes out? Or is there something proactive that you think that you could be doing to actually better your chances of getting through in the clutter? Now, part of the prevailing wisdom, especially now, is to sort of flood social media algorithms, right? Just kind of flood them and be like, yo, I'm going to make a new video clip today. I'm going to make a new blah, 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 right? The reason I'm talking about the Clubhouse stuff is what physical human kind of stuff could you be doing along the way too? Assuming you got someone doing a lot of that for you already, that you already have the flooding of social media and people are doing posts or whatever. And by the way, there's a rhythm and madness to that. And I'm not claiming to be an expert on that by far. Someone could come in and tell me all kinds of stuff about that, and I'd probably be like, word, thanks, I appreciate that. And you can go find people that purport to be experts on that. I get the videos on my feed all the time too. I honestly can only be bothered so much in terms of what I'm going to do on somebody else's site. It's not that I don't have the energy. I have endless energy. It's just I don't have the energy to sit there and feed somebody else's algorithm when I'm not getting much out of it. Like, what's the best that can happen for you on, I don't know, Twitter, right? Like, why post? Or Instagram for that matter. Like, why post? Probably it's so that most people would say, well, I want to have more followers. And then I turn around and say, okay, well, what are you going to do with the followers? Like, what are the followers going to actually do for you? Are they buying your merch? Are they giving you plays? Is there anything you're getting from the followers yourself? Do you go to their page? Are you reading what they're doing? Is it to keep in touch? Like, what is the end goal? And think about the time that we spend feeding an algorithm that's really collecting data on us, big data on us, right? That it's using to market more efficiently to us. Like, everybody has seen the pair of sneakers you're looking for. It's following you now 24/7, right? Like, I see Patrick Ewing sneakers all day on my Facebook feed because I've, looked up Patrick Ewing. So I'm seeing that constantly. We're looking at puppies right now. I got puppies following me everywhere, right? It's like, so when we're signing away our data, so to speak, for whatever it is that we accepted and clicked yes to, we know that that's part of the price. And we know that these algorithms are collecting more and more information on us. They know what you're doing. They know what you're eating. They know where you're going. It's Minority Report times 10, right? So could there be a trade-off to the social media, right? The ones that are very social, like Instagram, like Twitter, like Facebook in many cases, right? And could there be stuff for you that works better? Maybe it's Patreon, maybe it's Clubhouse, maybe it's some other site. I mean, we could come up with as many as we want to, but have you narrowed in on a couple? Or are you trying to put stuff 24/7 on everything there is and just plaster the room? Eventually, people are going to be like, oh, there's that dude. I don't even want to see them. Right? Like, oh man, here it comes. I know artist XYZ is going to hit me with 24 different things every single time I see them. It's like being a rapper and you go to a show and it's filled with all rappers, right? I know a lot of us know about that. You get to a show and you're like, you worked hard in your song or whatever, and you go to play it and you're like maybe the headliner and all the opening acts have left because the whole crowd was filled with opening acts and the people that they brought. So in other words, the $1 million question is, how do you develop actual fans who like your music, can't wait for it, and are really waiting on you, as opposed to you just generating numbers so that your Instagram looks good, so that your Facebook looks good? And what is good? And again, what is it that we're doing it for? Like, there is a threshold at which if you have lower than, and I'm guilty of this too, I will immediately look. See, one thing that Clubhouse does, it's pretty cool. Clubhouse forces you to put either your Twitter or your Instagram. There's no other link you can put there as of right now that you can directly link into. So at the end of a bio, you have the option to put in your Twitter or your Instagram, or both or none. Those are the four options, right? It's one or the other, or both or none, right? So that's what you can do. I can then go verify you. So if someone's in here and they're talking Big Willie and they're like, yo, yeah. And I'm like, I better not see 25 followers on Instagram. So I'll go in and sure enough, it's 25. It's like somebody made the post or made their account because they knew they were going to go in and talk about this thing. And that looks real sus, right? Like, I'm like, what? You talking like you're the grand expert of all, and you don't have 50 followers on your page, and then some people do the opposite and they're like, oh, I'm going to go see like this oh wow, they have 25,000 followers, they must be legit. And it's like, should they really have 25,000 followers? Like, is that real legit? Like, have you followed who some of those followers are? Have you looked down the bunny trail? I've done it multiple times, especially with speakers. Speakers are real notorious for this, for buying, especially Twitter. I've stopped many people having a crisis where they think they're going to pay for some self-help kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, go look at those 25,000 followers. I want you to really go start looking at their pages and then really look into how many of the people on this page should relate to another person who's legitimately doing the same thing. In other words, who are the cross followers? Are there any there? Like, I'm going to give you an example, and maybe he'll see this. One of my idols, right? If there is such thing in academia, is Chris Emden, Dr. Emden. He's amazing. He does hip hop. He does STEM, right? It's like he knows probably infinitely more people in academia than I know. But I'm assuming if you go to my page, let's say on Twitter, and I don't have many followers on Twitter. I don't even know what I have, or Instagram or whatever we're on, right? There's going to be a big common swath that we both follow because we're both artists, educators, use hip hop, into STEM, right? It's like, that's going to be your detection. So as soon as I hear someone talking about something, I just be like, even Google, like, who are the other reputable people in that area? And I'll see if they're following anyone the same. And if they're not, that's a huge red flag before you give your money to anyone. And this is true for all the artists out there. If you're going to, someone's going to go work your record, or they're going to get you these people, whatever service they're trying to do, go search a much bigger one. I had a dude today in the parking lot, like, roll up. I got a scratch, the tiniest scratch on my bumper. This dude rolled up. He's looking at my bumper to try to see if there's a scratch there, right? And I'm like, is this dude going to say something to me? Sure enough, he says it to the person sitting next to me who has a dent on their car. And he's like, yo, he goes, you want me to fix that bumper for you? And I'm looking at him. He's like, he's talking to me about that scratch. And he's like, oh, no. And I'm like, he goes, no, but I could take care of that too. I'm like, dude, there's nothing there. You know what I'm saying? He said, no, but that's what I do. And I said, dude, this isn't my first rodeo. Like, for 20 years, I've been seeing people, scout through the parking lots being like, yo, I can fix that in my auto body shop. I had a little conversation with him real quickly. I was like, does that really pay the bills for you? Is that really getting it done? He's driving around a late model, supposedly, like, real nice car, try to make it look like they're making that kind of money. And he's like, bro, I make like $2,000 a day doing this. I'm like, damn, that's $500,000 a year. So for $500,000 a year, this dude is driving through the parking lot of supermarkets looking for clients. And I'm like, at some point, if I'm making $500,000 a year, I'm just saying I'm no longer the person driving the car. Right? It's like, I'm going to be able to hire someone to go through and give the same spiel. It doesn't take much. It's just, we got to think like this, right? I do pretty well. I do well enough that if that was what I was doing, and I was making double what I was making, which, by the way, would not hit 500,000. If I was making double of what I was making, I'd probably be hiring 2 or 3 people to do that for me, because I do not want to go spend my time driving through a parking lot. Does that sound reasonable, right? And it's the same thing with this online stuff with music. It's like, when someone's saying they do X, Y, and Z, is it reasonable that they would be like spending their time all day long, like on Instagram, posting endless posts about this, that, and the third? If that's what they do, like, a little bit. But like, I don't know about you, but I got my day relatively relegated. I might have 3 to 4 hours on a regular day that I'm going to spend total on social media. And that may be while my phone's there and I'm doing something else, right? But I can't be spending 12 hours on social media. It just can't happen. There's real things to do, like make beats. And that's the other thing I'll say to artists. If you're spending that much time on social media, you probably should be spending more time on the mix, working on your rhymes, making a remix, making a DJ a custom drop for their station. because you appreciate their support wouldn't be a bad thing or a crazy thing to do. And then what happens, right? After a while, when success comes to you for doing all these things, this is what other people will say. Yo, you're so lucky, man. All that stuff that kind of comes. And I always laugh when that happens because I'm like, yeah, something's working, right? I don't know if it's luck, right? Like, it's like if you're doing these kind of things consistently, like if the art, remember we said at the beginning, if the art and the skill is there and you're working on it, right? If you're a shooter, you're in the gym shooting. If you're a rapper, you're at home writing rhymes, right? Or you're somewhere writing rhymes, right? If you're a weightlifter, you're in the gym lifting weights. If you are whatever you're doing, you're going to be working on your art to maintain and get better. It's what we do. There's no magic, right? Maintain and get better. And then because you love it so much, you're going to think about what are the other things I can do that can help myself? Or you're going to at least have these kind of conversations that we're doing that are going to contribute to that. You can't possibly be on social media 12 hours a day. Or at some point, it's going to occur to you that there must be something in the tangible world. I'm not talking COVID time, right? Like there must be something in the tangible world that I could be doing. And the tangible world could be like I could be in my own studio recording. Like maybe I make my wall soundproof, right? Like maybe I get a better mic. Maybe I'm reading up on like other stuff that I can do. But it can't be that you're on social media for 12 hours when you can't tangibly say what your goal is of why you're on social media. Like I'll give a demonstration. Here is a reason why I would be on social media for 3 to 4 hours per day, and that includes Clubhouse. So I can articulate what it is I'm trying to do. So I got 3 songs that are out this month that are, well, 3 over the course of the next month, right? That I need, like we said at the beginning, they're like children, you got to take care of them, right? They each have a sort of a different plan and a different market and a different thing we got to be doing. So at the bare minimum, I'm comparing that sound to other sounds that are out there. I'm listening to what's out. I'm seeing what other people are doing. I'm listening to them. I'm seeing if there's anyone in the same lane, if there's opportunity to collab. And I don't mean on a record, but in terms of like business, like maybe we do the same show. That happens all the time when you pay attention to it. Is there topics I can read about on the topic that I'm speaking about to make myself a little bit more well-versed on what those things are that might cross over into the other person's area? For instance, if I'm talking about, well-being and mindfulness or something, or a couple lines on my thing, it would be good if I could speak about that in the real world as opposed to just a rap about it, right? And normally that's what I'll do. I'll start with the information first, then a rap comes out, then I go back and I try to get more information, then maybe it spawns another rap or whatever. Then I read what someone else did. I'm like, yo, that was interesting. And it makes me pull up a book on it. And I go, yo, let me read about this, right? And then it churns out another rhyme. And then the vocabulary gets better. All these kind of things happen that we're doing. But at the same time, we're thinking, okay, I got this project, and this project. So for me, what makes sense, here's my inside secret, right? It's not much of a secret either. I'm like, if I am spending the time looking at what other people are doing in this general area, and I'm at least letting them know what I have. They might like what I have. I might like what they're doing. And there may be some kind of coalition there formed. We might perform together. We might make a song together. We might be in some similar kind of business deal or arrangement where we can be in a clubhouse room talking about it. Or it could be someone that I bring into a clubhouse. You can make like clubs essentially in Clubhouse that are like a bunch of people banded together for the same thing. Like, hey, I want to start a book company. All right, a bunch of people who like books and stuff can get in there and get interested. You find people like that, or it might be there's a Zoom coming up or whatever it is, right? It might have been something on YouTube that you saw. You're being aware generally of what those things are. That's just on top of actually making the product. But then you're thinking, okay, I'm going to project now my song's coming out on this date. What's going to be happening physically in the world at that time? Will school be back? Will school be in? Does it help to work that song to radio if there's nobody in radio, at college radio at that time? If there's not, are festivals going on? Should I be proposing myself to be a keynote speaker at a certain place? I was on the TEDx website today because me and my man Bernard were talking about doing a TEDx. We have a very dope idea, and we've both done TEDx's. So you know what I did? I got on the TEDx site, and I looked up all the ones that are within a reasonable radius, and I found all the dates. There's one in November, there's one in September, and they're right here. If we wanted to propose for ourselves, we can get on our A game, and we can be like, yo, we can do it. We probably have a good chance because between the two of us, we've done 4 TED Talks, right? That makes sense. So I'm going to start doing that. Look at the people who are in the TED Talk, all the stuff that I just talked about, as opposed to just writing the song. But I'm also going to have time in my day for doing the creative part, which is writing the song. And that's creative part too. Like looking up things and thinking about, oh, what could I do? Like what would be really cool? Would a TED Talk help me? Sure. In amazing ways. By the way, I was on Clubhouse earlier in the day. There was a whole room about how do you get yourself in TED Talks. And I'm sitting there thinking, go on to the TEDx site. Like, look when they're there. But you have to have something to talk about. You have to have something that you're a little bit of an authority of, or have some, or not even. You can just have a great idea, and you can speak well. And speaking well doesn't mean speaking proper. It means you can just speak and look people in the eye and talk to a crowd, and be like, "Yo, I was thinking this is a great idea. What do you think?" The whole thing is called ideas worth spreading. A lot of people will come up and say, "Yo, I want to be on a TED Talk. Can you give me any advice?" And I'd be like, "Come up with an idea. Might be really good." Like there's something that resonates with you at your core that you're like, "Man, people are just missing this." So for Bernard and I, it's like the introvert thing, right? Both introverts, both artists. Obviously, that's going to be somewhat in the topic of what we're doing, right? And it's kind of like it's like a real thing. Like every day we're thinking about it. You probably want to think about that a little hard. Maybe you write it down. Maybe it ties into a show that you're going to do. I can't tell you how many opportunities have come from TED Talks and vice versa, how many shows have led to TED. It's just all connected because it's in the same general realm. Have you ever thought about doing a speech, talking to a group of anybody, like, talking to a group of kids, talking to a group of adults? Have you ever thought about attending one and seeing what that looks like? A lot of people be like, yo, I don't know how to get a talk. Have you gone to a talk? Have you watched what happens at a talk? There's got to be something that makes you tick that would be someone would be willing to hear you speak on it. And if there isn't, it might be hard for you to think up cool ideas for you to talk about in a song as well. And then you might be noticing that your songs are kind of all sound the same. Switch your frame of reference. Read a book about something you haven't read. Go to the library. Go check something out. Grab a book randomly maybe and see what it is. And it's crazy how that serendipity kind of stuff can play a role as well. So that's all a little bit of the outside of the box, but it's also in the box too, because I'm methodically thinking about like, yo, what would make sense for what I do? For me, right? Again, just using my example, I'm in academia, right? I'm like, okay, I constantly have to think about my schedule. Like late August comes around and the game changes for me. It doesn't change 180 degrees, but I go from having a summer off to starting to actually physically have to be in a workspace again. And that's the thing too, we've spent a lot of time talking about before. Does your job allow you flexibility? I go into these rooms constantly on Clubhouse and it kills me. There's a whole, millionaire mindset kind of thing. And I'm like, there should just be $100,000 air mindset, right? Like, why is everyone trying to be a multimillionaire? I don't get it. Because it's like speaking as someone who's a six-figure heir, right? Which is pretty good, right? My young self would be pretty proud of me that I made it to that point, right? I'd be like, my life is pretty good. And I'm not chasing making millions. If I make $1 million, great. Like I'm not telling you I wouldn't want to, but it doesn't obsess me because every day I'm like, look at what I'm doing. I love hoop and rapping. I wake up and I do hoop and rapping. You know what I'm saying? Like I've made my schedule so that I'm either free to go do more hoop and rapping or I'm being paid to go do rapping and speaking and teaching and talking about education and making myself hopefully a more well-rounded person. To me, that's amazing, right? I'm like, yo, and I'll kid with people and they'll be like, oh man, you're lucky you got the schedule you do. They ain't no luck in it. It's like the plan. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's what I'm saying. We got to have our plan that works for us so we don't get ourselves so crazy frustrated. I'm not saying I got it perfect or that I've got it all figured out. I'm just saying it makes sense when I wake up in the morning. I'm like, yo, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to go shoot because I like shooting and I like exercise and I like getting in better shape and I like proving to myself constantly that hard work can make you better at something, right? And then I'm like, yo, then I'm going to come home and I'm going to work on my song, right? And then I'm going to get into business mode. And then I'm going to get into education mode, right? I'm going to say, yo, because my job thing that, that I do when I'm not doing that stuff is like the education stuff. And I got scheduled during the week that I got to keep. And it's a little bit more flexible in the summer or whatever. But that's what I'm saying. Then it changes up. And it's like, what seasons change for you? Like what happens when the seasons change? Have you paid attention to it? Is it important for you that it's summer? That's like, we're coming up on the end of July. We got a few days left in July, right? Is August different than July for you? Is it generally the same? Is something going to switch when the weather changes in September a little bit, right? Depending on where you're located. Does the fall let you capitalize on something? For me, it does. Students come back. So this is what happens for me, especially non-COVID. I speak and perform more. I travel more to schools. I think about that when I'm thinking about releases, when songs are going to come out, right? Just talking about songs that are coming out. They're coming out now for a reason. It's not ideal to put your songs out in the summer if you're trying to get a college market because there's not as many DJs there. But for me, it's part of the equation. See how that works out. Because it has to be out a little bit ahead of time so I can have some momentum running into the school year during a time which I'm promoting myself to other schools, entities, businesses, and so forth, right? And then things organically pop up all the time during then. But there's only so much free time that I have, so it has to be scheduled. Plus, I got, you got family, wife, kids, family, friends, all that kind of stuff. You got to think about it. So have you laid out your day like that? You don't need a coach for this. I mean, a coach is great. My wife's a coach. Definitely get a coach if you can afford one. But at least just air out the plan and think about, okay, I got 7 days this week. What am I doing for these 7 days that I need to do? And what am I doing to help me plan for the next week and for the next month and for the rest of the year and to the next year, right? Do you need to be in physically better shape, right? Does that matter? How's that going for you? All the things should really play that you feel like you're at least, if it's a circle and it's a pie chart, that you're contributing to each slice of that pie, at least in some meaningful way. And if you are, it's amazing how you can watch the different slices on that stuff start to really be self-fulfilling prophecy. They start to fill in for themselves, or nibble away, depending on what your metaphor is. But the slices start to fill in, kind of like that old school Trivial Pursuit games, right? The slices start filling in fully when you're paying attention to a little bit of them each day, right? There's a lot in music, but if the music's good, you've at least come up with some kind of a general plan. Now, I hope showing you behind the scenes kind of helps. Yo, I got that ready. So if someone calls me right now and they're like, yo, I heard a piece of that back in the days joint. Yo, can I get that? Yo, let me hit you with the release. Yo, I got a drop for it too. You want to drop for your radio station? If you want, I can make a custom one. How hard is it for me to make a custom drop when I've already made the generic, right? If I want to make something, what up, Fee? If I want to make something off the top, off the rip, I'm not waiting for someone to ask me. If my man is playing the joint down the street, I can just make a custom drop. Man, I can make a custom song, right? If you have access, many artists have access to their studio or whatever. Is it really that much different for you to even think about when you start out making the song? Where are the entry points in the song that you could change the name? I did this for a few people for Yo, That's Pro. I went in and made a change part, and Edition was like, yo, that's a real smart thing or whatever. Now, the problem is with that is when you send that track out to somebody, it's not, if you care about it, it's not going to register necessarily the same way if that song hasn't been encoded with the metadata and so forth. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. But, and who are you giving it to? Like, is it really going to matter to somebody, or is it just going to be a nuisance? But we got to think about what custom things we can do for people. And that's really just good, like, citizenship. That's not just like good business stuff. It's like we should be thinking about the people that are in our lives and what matter to them. If somebody's like low on, whatever, are we high on that? Could we help at that particular time? Right. And that's when people start going, yo, that person's a good person or whatever. And it's not like you're like Boy Scout or Girl Scout good. It's just that you're thinking of other people because it's like, man, that would suck when that happens to me. Right. It's not like rocket science kind of stuff. And in the music industry, people make a big deal about when they see a person that's not only talented, but is actually a good person, because it's so rare. I heard Angel talking about that the other day. I was in a room with her. Shout out to the Angel. She said that exact thing. She was talking about, some of the artists that were in the room, and it's like this room is curated with these amazing artists and amazing people every Wednesday night. It's just an amazing room, right? And people go in there and they perform and they do their thing. Not always, right? And it's such a shocker when you meet someone who's dope at what they do and they're like a terrific person. You're like, yo, I could leave my kid with that person. Like, how many people do you know like that? Like, you'd be like, yeah, I trust them with my kid, or I trust them with my whatever you have a value, right? That's like me. I trust them. It's a little different with kids, but like, I trust them with my car, right? Like, yeah, you can. Here's the keys. Would you leave the house open for that person? Be like, yeah, the door's open. Come on in. Those kind of people. How many people do you know like that? And the answer is probably not that many, right? But if you do know someone like that, isn't it amazing if they're dope at something too? And then you want to promote them. You'd be like, yo, my friend Fee, who's the coolest dude in the world, yo, it just so happens he's a freaking amazing rapper. Now I can promote his rapping. And you feel like you're helping. And here's a little secret, right? We only help people that we identify with or want to help. Like, and I don't mean they have to be going through the same life experience. We could help someone who's without a house, right? It's not because we don't have a house. It's because we can empathize with the situation and be like, yo, I want to help that person out. And when that person turns to you and you realize that that's a great person, you're like, yo. And then when you find out a little bit more about them, you want to put them on Front Street and broadcast that and advertise. It's what happens in teaching. And people will give you this false kind of like props. Like to me, it'd be like, oh, he's such a great mentor. No, it's just I'm in their lives, so I know how amazing they are. It isn't about me. I know how amazing they are. So then I can kind of like push them into a little bit of my network and go, yo, look at this like over here. Like you want to do that. And the secret is it makes you feel good. So you're doing it for a selfish reason, is because it makes me feel good. So I don't like want some big award. It's like, nah, trust me, you're helping me more than I'm helping you. I say this all the time in teaching. It's like people don't get the reward of teaching or even public speaking or any kind of thing that's in that mentoring, helping kind of vein. It's like it helps me more than it helps you. Like I learn more than you do when I teach you. And you say this to students all the time and you're like, the best way to learn is to teach someone else. You become like an expert on it. You cement what you know, right? Try teaching it and then try working with those people, those students, those learners or whatever. You meet them, you find out how freaking amazing they are in some aspect of their life, but that has to be communication or you don't find it out. If you just show up every day to teach the math, you're going to miss out on the gems that are right in front of you. If you just show up to rap at every show that you go do, you're going to miss the gems that are in the room. There's probably some musical genius in there, some business genius, some cooking genius, some artistic painter, whatever it is. And we're too self-absorbed to be like, yo, listen to me be the dopest rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to find that out. If I'm the dopest rapper, you're going to find out that I'm pretty good. I don't really have to jump on the stage and be like, yo, I'm the dopest rapper ever. And we see it all the time. And then we're like, I'm all set with that person. You know, so these are all, I hope, things that just kind of help you think about that a lot of this is an accident. The only luck of it is that you bump into somebody willing enough to share some of the stuff to you sometimes so that you can actually benefit from it and go, you know what? I didn't think of it like that. Because a lot of times someone will say something like, you'll be like, Eureka. I've never thought of it like that before. You have to be out amongst people, or at least doing what we're doing right now, be in a realm where you might absorb something by osmosis off somebody, be like, yo, and this is what teaching does again. It's just like constant ad for teaching, right? It's like you get to absorb the brilliance of other people. And Einstein worked as a patent clerk, right? He's a dude with good math skills. But if he didn't end up having to work in a patent clerk office because he didn't have the prerequisite skills that people thought he might have had as a professor, they're like, yeah, I'm not really going to recommend Einstein. This dude has a few issues. So, but you know what? He might be able to get this job in the patent clerk office, right? It's like, dude's brilliant, but didn't have all the social skills. Gets into a patent clerk office. And the thing about patents is people are trying to invent stuff. And you can imagine being the patent clerk and you're reading all these brilliant ideas 24/7. At some point, whatever you're thinking about, it's going to click and there's going to be some meshing going on. You're going to be like, you know what? I need to look more into that. And then you kind of get the credit. So this is true in music. It's true in any kind of cultural communication exchange. You hear, you see, we vibe off of one another. Everything we do is learned and we kind of reciprocate. And I just would like to say, like, keep your eyes open, pay attention, and most of those opportunities will show up for you too. And that isn't luck, right? But you can't just have horse and blinders kind of thing. It can't just be like, yo, I got a song. I can't wait to tell you I got a song out. Yo, I go into rooms and clubhouses. I don't care. Like, I know this stuff is going to happen. I'm self-confident in the fact that if just being around cool people by osmosis again, it's going to leak into the conversation at some point. So I'm not eager to be like, yo, I'm a dope rapper. You got to check me out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to come out, bro. It's going to come out. And if it doesn't come out, cool. Keep it moving. An opportunity will come for you. But if it's all a bunch of rappers at a bunch of rap shows, there's nobody really there to try to buy anything. There's people that try to sell everything. So it's really not the market that you want to be in. You really want to be in markets where everybody isn't a rapper. You really, i.e. like what we're kind of talking about. If you like a speaker at a convention or whatever, like that's a little bit different because people are going there to hopefully with the mindset to absorb some wisdom. as opposed to going to the local rap show that people are paying to get into that is filled with all other rappers. Because think about this, if the condition is so that you need to pay to get the show because it's so lopsided in terms of promoter supply and demand than performer, that means everybody who's in that room would be willing to pay, or else you wouldn't have had to pay. So they're all willing to be there, willing to pay to get in there. And that means probably there's a lot of people in there just like you. And do you think they're in there to buy your stuff or they're to sell theirs? So we go into these environments all the time. People are like, yo, I sold like 3 copies. And, you know, it just happened to be the few nice people or whatever, or different ones out of the bunch who might have bought your stuff. And everyone's leaving after they see their boys in them get off. And it's like, is that really the market we're killing ourselves to be in? It's the same with Spotify. Is that really what we're trying to do? Like, yo, you want to be on my Spotify playlist? Like, that bad? Like, do I really need to be on your playlist? Like, are people really, like, when's the last time you really bobbed out to a playlist, by the way? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't tell you the last time I listened to a Spotify playlist because it generally doesn't happen. I generally am not sitting around listening to play. That might just be me, but I'm like, we're killing ourselves to be environments that are filled with other people just like us. I'm not so sure how smart that is. Maybe if you're at a screening premiere of a movie, or you're at a art exhibition, or you're at a farmer's market or something, and you're willing to talk about what it is that you do when the time is right, you probably might have better organic opportunities than everybody showing up to do Spotify playlists, or everybody goes to the local rap show where everybody's a local rapper and there's really no actual fans except the fans of other people that you're trying to leech off to make your fans. So it's kind of a vicious cycle is all I'm saying. So think about ways that you can expand that. We all are trying to think of those kind of ways as artists. We're trying to think of creative ways where people can get to meet us, get to know us, and that we get to know them, and that it's beneficial and that we can live the life that we want to live. But it's not going to happen when we if 10 people in your circle are all rappers and they're all looking at each other in that cipher. Ciphers are cool, but ciphers aren't paying the bills, and there's a reason. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, you rap. Dope. You might rap a little different. Dope. Okay, cool. If that's what we're spending the bulk of our time doing, we're going to be a bunch of broke rappers. So that's cool if that's cool with you. And that's probably kind of how I'll leave it for now. So for next week, there will not be a ProQuo show, I believe, next week, because my family and we are doing the vacation thing. Unless I have like a free Friday opportunity or whatever, like I did this week to come through. And on the 12th, don't miss 60 Channels, and don't miss Slim Kid of the Far Side. And yeah, that's it. So check out my man Fee the Evolutionist, and check out Back in the Days. And I'm going to leave you with Back in the Days. I believe I'm going to try to play it. I'm going to play from the auto-generated YouTube video because I feel like it's safer. Because audio I was playing earlier, it was getting stuck on a couple things here. All right, so here's the Fee the Evolutionist topic that I pulled up earlier. I'm not sure if Fee get a chance to see this. He'll probably like it because there's something there that he's going to recognize that's real cool, and only he will notice. So Fee, check it out. This right here is Back in the Days. It is Fee featuring me and Ruby, produced by Ski Beats. Check it out. Pre-save it. No, don't pre-save it. It's out. Stream it. Find it. Hit me up. Hit Fee up to hear more about it. And we're going to play it like this.
The first reactions to Bullet Train are in.
On schedule.
See what
All
I'm
right,
doing?
check out what this video looks like, Fee.
I'm really proud of yourself.
It's time to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
Let's start all
Ex-Cal.
over again.
Baby.
Take me back in the day when the music would play. We were ciphering in the hallway. To the beats and the breaks, couldn't make no mistake. Yeah, that was the day. Where the written are free, let it flow with the breeze. Making this hip hop we speak. No, it wasn't a phase, cause the music would play. Yeah, that was the day.
Rock-a-block, native with the tongue when we spit it, leaving future archaeologists lyrical hieroglyphics. But a messenger, head bob as we beat. Kicking the under, making you wonder like Stevie. Excal the sword, Lord, Claude, and Phoebes. Cats got you open, rock a block like ski beats. MCing for the culture and the freedom, that's the reason. The sun, moon, and stars, the earth and the gods.
It's the ecstasy, loaded for a couple dudes around. 16 so beautiful, should hang him in the Guggenheim. Blew your mind with the pen and the verse. Excal since 96 at 1/10 the verse. Of course, making instrumentals uptown is Ski's crib.
Weekends take the rentals down from Boston like a ski trip.
The best secret ever kept, now the professor is popping with them butters, got them talking on their messengers.
Take me back in the day when the music would play. We were ciphering in the hallway to the beats and the breaks, couldn't make no mistake. Yeah, that was the day. Whether written or free, let it flow with the breeze. Making this hip hop we speak. No, it wasn't a phase, cause the music would play. Yeah, that was the day.
Y'all ain't ready for the Excal machete war where every metaphor will spit your word like Ecuador. Back and forth, 4 bars and past. Nobody has ever been able to say that Lord Plord ain't fast now. I teach class forth and back doing college tours. Went from popping junk, now keep it a buck like the dollar store. Rip the sword while Ski beats the soundtrack. Smacking a pack of rappers, Excal making it sound fast.
Uptown in the lab on a Saturday night, feeling the glow but on the low, the camp was mad high. Catching the vibe over glossy beats as the lights shine bright over the gritty city streets. Rocking my Timbs and soft butter leathers. Man, I thought those days would last forever. However, living better now, bitter cheddar now. Rock a block with gems, that's the plan, girlfriend.
Take me back in the day when the music would play. To the beats and the breaks, couldn't make no mistakes. Whether written or free, let it flow with the breeze. No, it wasn't a phase, cause the music would play. Yeah, that was the day.
Ski beats,
Rock on, I be hood. Rock
Those
on,
were the days.
Ruby Red,
rock on. ProQuo,
Yeah, that was the day.
Evolutionist,
rock on. Serba, rock on.
Invasion,
Rock on. The affiliates,
Yeah, that was the day.
rock on. Camp Lou, rock on. T-Strong, rock on. Chubby Chub,
Yeah,
rock
that
on.
was the day.
Red-handed, rock on.
GCS,
Rock on.
yeah.
That's back in the days right there. See that right there, Free? That's what I'm showing you. All right, you know what I'm showing you. Anyways, check it out, y'all. That was back in the days. Request it at your local station. If they don't got it, be like, yo, you need to get back in the days by Feed the Evolutionist featuring Professor Lyrical and Ruby Shabazz. It's that new Excal, baby. Peace.